So before we get started today, a couple of quick messages. First, I had some viewers in the first vid say that the game dialogue was a bit too low in volume. It's one of those things it can be hard to tell. I thought it was fine, I could tell what everyone was saying, but for future episodes I will try to boost the game audio to see if that helps. I may add subtitles as well. I'll at least do it for this episode to help out. Sadly, there is no built-in option for subtitles. Second, a disclaimer about this particular episode. One of the puzzles in this part uses a word that, while it was seen as acceptable at the time, it hasn't aged well and is seen these days as an ethnic slur. Definitely a word you shouldn't be using. Please bear in mind the seventh guest is a product of its time, and the word is only featured as part of the original game, and was not meant with ill intent. Also, please respect that I'm not a social commentator. That's not why I got into content creation. I'm just here to entertain people with video games I enjoyed over the course of my life. Please don't make a big deal of this in the comments, regardless of which side of it you're on. Please and thank you. And with that, let's continue our journey through the Staff Mansion. The puzzle in the foyer still is not activated, so let's go check out this side of the stairway. Welcome to the dining room.
I guess our host wants us to fend for ourselves.
Oh, I've tasted better fare.
At least he left his regrets.
I'll show you mine, if you show me yours.
I don't know,
Oh, it says that we're each to have a piece. Exactly the same, including the symbols.
Why, that's impossible.
So with that, it's time for the second puzzle.
Become a grave digger now, have we? You are a glutton for punishment.
So this time, we're not going in without any knowledge. You have to think about what it is that Eleanor just said. Each of the 6 guests is supposed to get an equal share of this cake. Equal in every way. So, ironing this out, we have a 6x5 grid. So, 30 pieces of cake, meaning each of the guests gets 5 pieces. However, Ego is about to explain the second rule.
2 skulls and 2 stones. The rest is just icing.
Also, as Eleanor said, each piece must have the same symbols. So, each piece of cake has to have 2 headstones, 2 skulls, and 1 piece that's just icing. However, there is a catch to it, because of course there is. Each segment of cake must be adjacent to another, so whatever chunk of cake you're slicing off, all the pieces have to touch. So for example, I can't just take these 2 headstones, these 2 skulls over here, and this piece of icing and call that one share. Everything has to be touching.
Puzzling. Some cannot be created more equal than others.
So this side of the cake is a good starting point. It has everything we need. My uncle actually wants to try making this cake for Halloween this year. He actually has little molds so you can make chocolate skulls and tombstones, so hey, that works out. Looks like maybe 3-layer white sponge with some green icing. Seems doable. And if we get that worked out, I'll definitely take a picture of it for social media. Essentially what you want to do is keep the segments of cake as tight as possible, so you don't end up with anything isolated. Also, this is a fairly generous puzzle. There are multiple ways you can solve this one. And one segment left to go. The whole thing's a piece of cake. Hey, if Staffa's gonna be using puns, so am I.
There.
It's coming back! The never-ending cake!
Don't worry. I won't bite. Edward, we could help each other out. I could help you, and you could help me. Come and talk in my bedroom upstairs, where it's nice and private.
So yes, the visual effects can get weird, and Martine is anything but subtle. But hey, happy ghosts! Everything's possessed and flying around, but it's wacky and happy! I just like that scene for some reason. But with that, there's nothing else to do in the dining room. The moon is grumpy! Shouldn't she be crashing into Termina? So, welcome to the kitchen.
Yes, this is it. No, it isn't. I still...
So here we get a little show that the guests that night, they were trying to solve the same puzzles that we're going through right now.
When all the 7 guests have gathered, you must figure out what I want. It's a puzzle, Mrs. Knox. And mind you, the others are also working at the same task. It may all depend on who has the greatest need, or who is the bravest. There are clues throughout this house as to what must be done. The house is alive with clues.
Hoping to meet you in the flesh. I remain your host, Henry Snuff.
So there is this view we get going this way that we just flat out ignore. We don't get to do anything with that. It really seems like there should be something here, and I think in the original version of the script, there was something that was supposed to happen there, but I guess it got cut due to some kind of constraints. So just what was Julia looking at in here? Puzzle number 3.
Here's food for thought. Be warned, though. Your mind will be gorged before this night is done.
So, any fans of TV tropes in the audience? Ever seen something labeled "Solve the Soup Cans"? This is where that comes from. So yes, once again we have letters to work with. Very specific groups of letters, certain numbers. So we're making a sentence again. Have you caught on to the twist? The only vowel we have to work with is Y. So that makes things a little bit trickier. Now, an easy place to start is these two-letter words. Given the letters we have to work with, there's not a whole lot that can work with a Y. Really, the major candidates would be using the M and using the B. From there, it's figuring out the order, and my by doesn't make any sense. So you select two cans and you swap them.
Cans that meets the eye.
I think you mean meets the Y. Now from here, things get a little bit trickier. You have a three-letter word up top, but there are a few options that could be. Try, pry, cry. So yeah, there's a lot to work with. Heck, if you want to go medieval, you could have thy. Things are made a little bit easier if you get one of the clues from the hint book. It doesn't flat out give you the solution, but it gives you a set of synonyms to work from. The clue being, bashful nomad, craftily, agilely, meet secretly near my underground vault. So you start working with synonyms. So, three-letter word with only Y as a vowel, meaning bashful. That would be shy.
I don't think you can do this.
Bad pun, no points. Now, it's time to address the elephant in the room, and it's not Francine's birthday. This puzzle does use a word that has not aged well. As I said in the disclaimer for this particular video, please remember that the Seventh Guest, it's a product of its time. It was made in the early 90s, and back then, this particular word, it wasn't really a contentious word. It wasn't seen as offensive. And I don't think its use in this puzzle was meant with any ill intent. It's just a case of language evolves over time, and depending on the time, people are going to react to certain words different ways. These days, unfortunately, this word is kind of seen as an ethnic slur, so I do just want to address that, yes, I am aware of that. It's not a word you should be using these days, but we're going to go ahead and just put it in there to get through the puzzle and move on. For those who are just listening, just to hint at what the word is, G-word, former name of one of the Mystery Science Theater bots before they changed it for the same reason. So, yeah, I'm not actually going to audibly say it, but you can pretty easily figure out what it is. And that is the synonym they want for nomad. So again, I also ask you, remember, I'm not a social commentator. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to show off a game I enjoyed as a kid. And so, let's move on. Don't make a big thing of it in the comments, please. So, next up, craftily. Followed by agilely. So we're dealing with a couple of adverbs here. So the ly suffix, that actually fits. So we'll go ahead and set those up at least. So, if you're crafty, you're sneaky, you're sly. So, craftily would be slyly. Also, yeah, you see the beckoning hand cursor toward the edges? Make sure you don't click that. Otherwise, you have to restart the entire puzzle when you come back to it. It doesn't remember where you were. It's easy to accidentally click out of a puzzle. There's one later on where that's really bad. So, continuing on. If you're spry, if I just gave away the answer. If you're agile, you're spry. So yes, spryly. It's easy to lose my place as to what I was saying. It doesn't help that I had to re-record this entire section because my earlier attempt to record all this earlier today got interrupted by my uncle's dog that decided to just hang out right outside my door and sing the song of her people at the top of her lungs. A beautiful aria, but not great for recording. So, next, meet secretly. A secret meeting would be a tryst. The more letters we use up, the rest of the words are easier to figure out. So, near would be by. My, well, there's not much they could do as a synonym for that, so they just kind of give you that one for free. Underground vault. With the letters we have left, the only thing that makes sense is crypt.
Yes.
There. Now I've solved it.
No, you just undid all our work, Julia. So turning this way, we have another door to the outside, but nothing we can do with it. And again, there's trees out there. Also a fridge, nothing we can do with that. Turning this way, though, we are presented with another door. And we can actually go through here. This leads to the mansion's basement. I don't really want to do that right now. We'll get to that later on. Well, that's upsetting. Just a little.
I smell it. I feel sick.
So hey, hot tip. If you come to the Stealth Mansion, don't try the soup. Seems a shame you can't do anything with the butcher knife here. But for now, we're done with the kitchen. I swear it seems like there should be something over here. But nothing. Oh well. Back to the foyer with us. By now, the puzzle here should be active.
It's easy to find a place to start. It's hard to find a place to finish.
So once again, no real direction given. However, you can interact with each point of the star. To what end, though?
Which way should I go now?
We get a spider. So Ego asks, which way do we go now? We have a choice of two. The point's connected to where we put the spider to begin with.
I wonder if you will get the point of this.
Okay, I'll give you points for that one. No counter pun intended. So, at this point, we can select any of the points. So, you start to get an idea. Maybe you have to put a spider on every point of the star, but they have to be able to cross at least once. So, they have to have somewhere open that they can go to. So, how to account for this? Simple. Just always send a spider to occupy the point that was just vacated. So this one started over here, and then walked over here. So the next one, we're going to put it here, and have it cross over to this point.
Which way should I go now? The points of this star are missing something.
So once again, this point was just vacated, so following the lines of connection,
which way should I go now?
We send one there.
There's something missing. This star seems to have lost its sparkle.
Look, I wouldn't call putting spiders on the star adding sparkle.
Which way should I go now?
Yeah, I don't get on with spiders all that well. It comes from having had a black widow land on me when I was a very young child, and they have freaked me out ever since.
Which way should I go now? Which way should I go now?
One left. And we're good.
Curses!
Come on. Come on. Come. Please.
But who was that? So, with that, we have done everything that we can for now on the first floor. There is this room over here that we couldn't get into earlier. It's still locked. And there's also a secret room that we cannot currently get to. We'll have to wait until later for that. There's also the basement, but there's a specific reason I don't want to do that just yet. We'll see that soon enough. But this is where we're going to call it for now. Next time, we'll start checking out the second floor. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this series so far. Happy Halloween, and I shall see you again next time. Until then, fare thee well. Which, speaking of fare thee well, I can show you the Sphinx board. This is how you save your game, and also how you exit. Exiting the game comes with its own surprise. First we'll save though. First you select a slot. Why, I have no idea what that could be referring to. We're going to save over it, though. Oh, you can't use numbers in the actual save name. Well, Part 1.
Your game has been saved.
Thank you, Magic Voice. So, yeah. Farewell. Do you really want to quit? Yes, and someone won't be happy about it.